The band Warbringer just put out a new album called Wrath and Ruin, and people are saying this is the best album they've ever put out, or even possibly the best thrash metal album of 2025 so far. So I'm going to be doing something different this time. I'm going to run a few tests on this album. So what I'm going to do is run a series of 5 tests. The first one will be based on song composition and lyrics. The second one will be based on musicality and performance. The third one will be based on production quality. The fourth one will be based on innovation and originality. And the fifth one will be based on emotional impact and the cohesion of the album in general. After I run those 5 tests, I can determine if this is potentially the best thrash metal album of the year. So with that being said, I want to start with a quick history just to introduce you to the band. Then I'll start running the tests. Warbringer is a thrash metal band from Ventura, California. They've been active since 2004. So in other words, they're part of the new wave of American thrash metal. They're currently on the Napalm Records label. The band has 5 members with 2 guitar players, and they released 7 albums in total. Wrath and Ruin was released on March 14, 2025 through Napalm Records. There are 8 tracks. The album is 40 minutes long. There's an additional disc with live tracks, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video. But now I got that out of the way, I'm going to start with the first test, which is song composition and lyrics. First test I'm going to talk about is mostly about the lyrics. So this band likes to write about current events and war, and that's obvious. You can see that in the name of the band. It's not a concept album, but there are a few themes such as technology and AI that appear throughout the lyrics. The first song, The Sword and the Cross, is about killing people who don't convert to your religion, so I thought that was a good topic for thrash metal. It was almost written as if it could have been a power metal song or even traditional heavy metal, but it was a good topic. The second track, Better World, is about taking your medicine and being addicted to screens and the state of the world in general. So that's another one that's pretty straightforward for thrash metal. The third song, Neuromancer, appears to be about some type of artificial intelligence. That's what I understood. The next song, The Jackhammer, is about a guy who lurks at night and he waits for people to walk by and he jumps out and he kills them. He calls himself the Jackhammer. The next song, Through a Glass Darkly, is kind of hard to interpret. I understand it to be about reincarnation and how history repeats itself. Then a song about war called Strike from the Sky, about airstrikes, and another song about AI and technology and feeling trapped in life called Cage of Air. And the final song, The Last of My Kind, is about someone who is the last of their species, or it could be a metaphor for aging. That one I had a hard time interpreting, but if you think I misinterpreted anything, you can feel free to let us know in the comment section. Now, to conclude the test, does the songwriting support or weaken the premise that it's the best album of the year? So I believe it passes the first test. I think lyrically it's very cohesive. Even though it's not a concept album, the song lyrics seem to feel like a cohesive unit. So now for the next test, it's going to be musicality and performance. So the second test is kind of hard to do with thrash metal because you have to stick to a formula, but at the same time, try not to have everything sound the same. So I think they did a good job with that. Everything on this album stays within the realm of thrash metal. I also feel there weren't any songs that were filler tracks or weaker tracks. I can honestly say that every song was very good. There's some experimentation with other genres, but I'll talk about that during test number 4. I think some tracks are worth mentioning, like Neuromancer, because it has a cool bass guitar intro and some deeper guttural vocals. Some songs are fast-paced, like The Jackhammer. Others are slower, such as Through a Glass Darkly, and others have clean sections and acoustic guitars like Cage of Air. So does the band deliver musically compared to their other works? I think yes. I think the album does not have any weak tracks, so it's going to pass the musicality and performance test. Now it's time for test number 3, and this is production. I think the album has a great production sound. I listened to it a few times, both with the speakers and on the headphones, and sounds great in both formats. Overall, it's a nice, clean production that's perfect for thrash metal. There are some songs where the vocals are split into the 2 channels of the speakers or headphones. Other tracks have a nice drum sound. For example, the track Neuromancer has a nice bass guitar sound, and that can be heard in the intro as well as other parts of the album. And that's always good to hear. Sometimes thrash bands have a tendency to bury the bass, and I'm not just talking about Injustice for All. There are other songs that have this spacey and atmospheric production and also sound very good. And finally, you can hear different layers of instruments during some parts of the album. So does the production enhance or detract from the album? I think the production really enhances the album's listening experience, so it passes this test. But the next one's going to be a challenge. It's about innovation and originality. So like I said, it's a thrash metal album, so sometimes hard to be original as you don't want to stray too much from that classic old school formula, but I think this band was able to pull it off. The first track, The Sword and the Cross, is pretty straightforward, but it has touches of black metal, such as the black metal style tremolo picking, and the song has some neoclassical riffing in the second half of the song. Some songs were straightforward thrash metal, but there's a reason for it, and I'll address that during test number 5. I have been mentioning the song Neuromancer a lot. I think that's a good one. And I like the song because it's a slower paced song with some modern touches, hints of death metal in the guitar playing. And there's another song I thought pushed some boundaries. That was Cage of Air. That song had spoken parts in the intro, clean guitars and acoustic guitars, had some tribal drumming. And there was something really unique. The last 30 seconds of the song sounded like straight black metal, like something you would hear on a Dark Throne album or something like that. That was cool. Finally, the last of my kind, or the last track, also unique because it had some clean guitars in the background, had some blast beats, had some neoclassical moments in the breakdown, and cool moments with the bass guitar and clean guitars in the outro. So for this test, does it push boundaries or do they play it safe? I think they pushed boundaries enough in a few of the songs, so it definitely passes this test. Now for the final test is Emotional Impact and Cohesion. So this final test is going to be mostly about the album in full and how the tracks flow together. So that was something I noticed, that this band kind of alternated between the straightforward old school thrash metal songs like A Better World, The Jackhammer, and Strike from the Sky, and they alternated them with tracks that were a little different, such as The Sword and the Cross, Neuromancer, Through Glass Darkly, and Cage of Air. So for that reason, the album had a nice flow. It didn't feel like one song bled into the other. That's something that happens sometimes when bands put two similar sounding songs next to each other on an album. So for this test, does it have a good cohesion and does it leave a lasting impression? I think yes. So this album passes the 5th test. So now for my conclusion and determination. I think the album might potentially be their best album yet, but that would have to be determined in a ranking video. So this finding is inconclusive, but I would say that according to my findings, I would say I'm confident to say that it has the potential of being the best thrash metal album of 2025. But again, it's not definite as we're still in the first quarter of 2025. So if I give it a score out of 10, score is going to be 9 out of 10 with the potential to go up as I spend some more time with it. Now let me know, do you agree with my conclusion? Let me know in the comments. Their last album they released was back in 2020. My channel was not active at the time, but I was able to give it a mention in my 2020 end of the year video for thrash metal. So I'm going to stick that one here if you want to check that one out next. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please give this video a like. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you have not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.